So let's start by looking at our musical notation to represent when something is worth one count, which is called a crotchet. A crotchet is drawn by having a black note head and a stem that can point either up or down, but in this video I'm going to be showing all the stems pointing up just to make it convenient. So a crotchet is like having a full apple. But let's say that I want to cut the apple in the middle. So if I've got an apple and I slice it right down the middle, I've still got one apple, but I've now got two halves. And musically, if we get a beat and we slice it in the middle, the representation of that is called a quaver. Therefore, a quaver is worth half a count. Because we've got two quavers or two halves of the apple, half plus half equals one. So we've still got the one apple, but we've actually sliced it into two halves. And when we draw music, when we draw quavers, we tend to put a little flag on it. Now, the little flag represents that the music has been divided in half, or that beat has been divided in half. So we had a crotchet, and now we've added a little flag to it to turn it into a quaver, and the quaver represents that it's worth half a count. So musicians like to keep things organized, and what we do sometimes is that when we've got flags, we can represent them, quavers that is, by using what's called a beam. Now, a beam is a thick black line that connects two or more quavers. We tend to connect quavers together when they belong to the one beat or the one apple. And it's an easy way for the musicians to see that you're referring to one whole count. So on the left here, we've got two quavers that have been drawn together with a flag each, and we can draw the exact same quavers by using a beam to connect them. In each case, they're worth half a count. For the purposes of this video, whenever we refer to quavers in groups, we're going to join them together by using a beam. So we've got a crotchet to represent one apple or one beat. We've got quavers to represent half a beat or half an apple each. Semiquavers are representations of having a quarter of a beat or a quarter of an apple. So let's pretend we get an apple, we slice it in half, and then we slice it in half again. We then get 4 quarters. Musically, when we slice a beat into 4, we get what's called a semiquaver. And think of the word semi as being half. If you've got a circle and then you want half a circle, you divide in half, and that's called a semicircle. Well, if we get a quaver and we divide it in half, we get a semiquaver. Because we've got 4 quarters, each quarter is worth, each quarter put together is worth 1 count. And like the quavers, if we get all the quavers together in an apple, so we've got 2 and we join them together, we can use a beam. Well, we can also do exactly the same for semiquavers. I mentioned before that one flag represents that you've divided the beat in half or the note in half. So if we go a crotchet and add a flag to it, we've halved it and we've made it into a quaver. Because semiquavers are a quarter, it's like halving it again. So we represent that musically by showing 2 flags. Or if you're going to beam them all together, then we have 2 beams, 2 thick beams at the top to show that they all belong to the one apple or the one beat representative.